What's up, everyone? Here are my NFL Week 8 DraftKings picks. This time we're going to be talking about some sleeper/value plays. If you haven't seen my main picks video that I uploaded on Wednesday, there will be a link down in the description and a link in the top right now. So without further ado, let's go and get into this week's picks. Alright, so we're starting off with Devontae Booker here, and this guy has turned into a really obvious play this week. At the beginning of the week, it seemed like he was kind of an interesting option to throw into a contrarian GPP lineup or something like that, but now he's kind of turned into a cold stone lock into a cash game lineup just because of his price, because of the workload, everything together. Obviously, with CJ Anderson going down, he's going to be placed on IR now, I believe. This guy's going to get 100% of the workload, just about. I mean, maybe he'll miss a carry or two or something like that, but he's not game flow dependent. He has a game with 6 targets this season. He has about at least 1 reception in almost every single game this season. He's actually been getting carries right since the beginning of the season, so that's good. So obviously the Broncos like him. They know that they want to get him involved in the game. And even last week, he had 17 carries and had 83 rushing yards with a rushing touchdown. So, and the week before that, they already faced the San Diego Chargers, who they are facing this week, and he didn't get many chances. He only had 5 carries, but with those 5 carries, he had 46 rushing yards. That's over a 9 yards per carry average. So, I mean, obviously this guy can run the ball. He's very effective, and again, like I said, he will get some looks in the pass game. I'm not sure how much he's going to get in this game, but I would expect some because the Chargers are just not a very good rushing defense. They're not very good on defense, period. But the Chargers will get Brandon Flowers back, so that'll help them a little bit. But still, without Jason Verrett, that's really going to be a big blow to this team. So play Devontae Booker in cash games. Don't overthink yourself. Don't try to be too cute. Play this guy in your flex or something like that, and then start building around him. Okay, so next up I have Jameis Winston, and I guess you can kind of call it a cop-out because I had him in my main picks video as well. But I just have to reiterate, this dude is too cheap. He is way too cheap given the matchup, given what he's done recently. I'm not going to bombard you with a ton of different numbers because I did that in the main picks video. But again, you need to play Jameis Winston. If you don't want to play him a ton, I understand that because he does have potential to throw 4 interceptions in every single game as far as I'm concerned. But again, for what you know you're going to get out of a quarterback like him, he's just too cheap given the matchup. Okay, so next up I have Will Fuller, and this guy has been struggling as of late. But if you take a look at the game log and actually thoroughly assess it and look at it and not just say, oh, he had a bad, 7 target, 4 reception game for 22 yards, you would actually understand what's happening. Now, first off, 2 weeks ago, he was active, but he didn't play against the Colts. That was that whole fiasco where one reporter said he was going to play, one reporter said that he wasn't going to play, then another guy said he would be active, but he wouldn't play. All these different things happened. Nevertheless, he ended up not playing. The week before that, he faced the Vikings. And then last week, he faced the Denver Broncos. So, I mean, this guy's had some tough matchups, and he's been a little bit injured recently. So, it makes sense why he's been struggling lately. Not to mention, he's a rookie. So, he's still getting accustomed and getting used to everything, his new surroundings, and all these different things. So, he hasn't had a 100-yard receiving game since week 2 against the Kansas City Chiefs. He actually went back-to-back in his first 2 NFL games with back-to-back 100-yard receiving games, which is actually pretty impressive. But anyway, everything in this game is pointing towards a good bounce-back situation for Will Fuller. So first off, the Lions are not going to have Darius Slay, and that's a huge blow to this secondary. Seriously, Darius Slay is not even a top-tier defender in my opinion, but he's definitely the best defender that the Lions have, and without him, it's really going to hurt that secondary. Now, this could be a good chance to maybe stack Will Fuller with DeAndre Hopkins and Brock Osweiler. I don't know how popular that's going to be. I would expect it to be maybe a hint more popular now because of no Darius Slay. That said, I still think it's a good chance to be low owned. I also want to mention that the Lions have not allowed a rushing touchdown yet. This could just be a case of where the Lions are so vulnerable in the passing game that teams just aren't running on them because they don't have to. But I wanted to mention this because Lamar Miller is dealing with a shoulder injury. So if Lamar Miller gets in this game and his usage is going to be limited, and Alfred Blue is going to be, getting the brunt of the carries and stuff like that, this could be a chance where this could be a chance where Brock Osweiler is going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. Keep all that in mind. But all in all, I think it's a really good opportunity to get Will Fuller in your lineup. He does have punt return upside as well. We've seen him return one earlier in the season. So I just like Will Fuller a lot in tournaments this week, and I'm going to be playing quite a bit of him. Okay, so next up I have Randall Cobb, and Randall Cobb has quietly snuck up on the NFL. In the last 3 games, this guy has 37 targets. That is the most in the NFL in that span. So This guy's definitely getting plenty of looks, and I mean, obviously, it makes sense. First off, the Packers have been missing the running backs, and Eddie Lacy and James Starks. Obviously, Ty Montgomery has kind of emerged into a kind of a hybrid type running back slash receiver type thing, and then they do have Don Jackson as well. Now they're gonna have Niall Davis this week, but I still don't think they're going to run the ball that much, to be perfectly honest. And I think that they kind of want to use Ty Montgomery in the role that they were using him in. And I think they'd rather throw the ball for 4 or 5 yards than they would, run the ball and try to get a running play out of 4 or 5 yards. So I think Cobb can maintain this pace of targets. I mean, first off, it looks like Jordy Nelson is going to be shadowed by Desmond Trufant. I think some people kind of overrate the shadowing thing lately, but Desmond Trufant has proven to be one of those guys that you probably should fear a little bit if they're shadowing him. It doesn't mean that Jordy Nelson can't break free and have a big game against Desmond Trufant. I mean, it's Jordy Nelson. But that said, I think that this offense is really going to be looking to throw the ball, 50 times this game, maybe even, maybe a little less. But I definitely see a game where Aaron Rodgers could easily throw the ball for at least 45 times at least. So that said, I think Randall Cobb is definitely a good option. He's definitely a tournament guy for me. I'd even consider him in cash games. I don't know if my lineup's going to get there, but if it does, then maybe I'll play him. But honestly, I think if I'm going to get one of these Packers receivers, that's not Jordy Nelson, I think I'm going to kind of go down a little bit and get Ty Montgomery. Obviously, he's going to be the more popular play because he's emerged as that hybrid thing, like I said earlier. But he still is a cheaper than Randall Cobb as well. So you can't really go wrong with either of them. And I'm definitely heavily considering stacking Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb, and Ty Montgomery in a few tournament lineups. Okay, so next up I have Terrell Pryor, and he's a guy that every single week I'm looking for an excuse on why I should put him in a lineup. And this week it's pretty simple. Josh McCown's going to start. Now, the last time McCown started a game, which was earlier this season, obviously, against the Ravens, I believe it was, he targeted Pryor 10 times, which is good and all. I mean, Pryor didn't do much with the targets, but at the beginning of the season, he was still trying to figure out the wide receiver position, and obviously it's coming to him a little bit better now. He kind of knows what he's doing. The other big thing that a lot of people were worried about earlier this week was his hamstring, but he wasn't even on the final injury report, so we don't have to worry about him being limited in his route running ability now. At least we don't think he will be. Well, let's hope he's not. So add all that stuff in, and then the matchup on top of that, this is a great opportunity to play Terrell Pryor. I'm not sure how highly owned he will be. I think that now that he's not even on the final injury report, I think he's going to be significantly higher owned. That said, this is a perfect opportunity to play Terrell Pryor and stack them with some Jets receivers as well, and maybe even a quarterback. If you wanted to go Fitzpatrick, Brandon Marshall, and a Terrell Pryor game stack, that makes perfect sense to me. I'll probably be running that in at least one lineup and just kind of seeing what happens. I mean, the Jets' passing defense is just horrendous. They've allowed over 1,400 receiving yards, which is the third most in the NFL. They're allowing over 40 fantasy points per game to wide receivers, which again is fourth worst in the NFL. So, again, as long as Pryor's healthy, if McCown can just chuck the ball up to him, Pryor should have a good game. He's a freak of a human being. He's a huge receiver. He should be able just to climb the ladder and moss some of these guys. So I like Pryor a lot in this situation. I'm going to be playing him. I wouldn't say quite a bit, but I am going to be getting quite a few lineups with him in there. All right, so finishing up here with Theo Riddick. It isn't the best matchup for him this week in the Houston Texans. That said, if this game goes the way it's expected to, in the sense that the Houston Texans are expected to pass all over the Lions, and if it goes that way, the Lions are obviously probably going to be playing from behind. Of course, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot if they're playing from behind. And in fact, even if the Lions get up in this game, the Lions throw the ball more than almost any other team in the NFL when leading. So regardless, Theo Riddick is going to have some value in this game. Now, of course, he's going to get a couple carries, but the real value you're looking at Riddick is in the passing game. I mean, he has 8 red zone targets so far this season, and he's missed the past few games. He's caught 7 of those red zone targets and 3 of those for touchdowns. So the guy is actually a legitimate threat in the red zone on this team. And, that's the real value you're getting, and if they get far behind in this game or even get up, they're still going to be passing the ball. So, again, I like Riddick. If you can put him in a millionaire maker lineup, and if he puts up 20 points and you nail the positions around him, then you're probably going to be rolling in the money. I mean, honestly, like, he's going to be the lowest owned player that I've mentioned so far in this video. I just don't see anybody else being this low owned. He's not that good of a price. He should be cheaper, especially coming off of an injury. But all in all, I like Riddick, and I'm going to put him in a couple of different lineups. I'm not going to have a ton of exposure to him, but I do think he is worth taking a shot on in a few lineups at least. Alright, so that's going to do it for the video. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Also, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.